All right, let's get into this restorative bone therapy. So it is going to require a certain amount of circulation in the beginning to the chest and the core. So you're going to sit up on a bolster that's lengthwise from the chair. So as you kind of almost straddle the bolster just to get towards the chair, you're going to shift your hips all the way to the chair. I want you to be all the way up to the chair. And then the legs swing up on top of the chair seat. Now, if you're tall enough that your feet touch the wall and it actually feels good, you just let that be. But you might decide that you want your chair a little distant from the wall if you can't get ease with your legs, okay? So I want you to sit at the far end of the bolster first. And then as you lower your head back, you'll go, oh, my shoulder's not touching down. So what you can do is slide a little bit back. You can kind of play with this. I would slide the blanket so it's certainly under your head. And of course, your neck might not be pushing into the blanket. That's fine. But I want you to feel this surge in the chest circulation, not necessarily muscle, but in the breathing experience. So there's a lot of circulation in the facial sensation in the upper lungs. So really make sure that bolster is kind of stuffed up at the top of your back so that chest stuff can stretch. And if you want to be closer to your chair, you can fuss around. I would encourage a little bit of fussing here. I sometimes don't want to lose this bolster under my upper back, so I'm going to just let my legs be weightless, so they're resting on the chair. And then I want you to let the focus be in the beginning to add some sand across the ribs so that that upper bone structure in this rib sensation centers. Okay, let's go inwards. Let's bring the arms downwards by the sides and feel the shoulders resting back so they almost kind of just cuddle with the bolster, right? Shoulders back, kind of cuddling into the bolster. It's nice to have the back of your body just trying to center on the bolster. And feel the energy of your breath. Noticing its movement. And then begin that rhythm of inhale through the nostrils and the sense of the body breathing. So that corridor of the waist, of the ribs moves with the breath. And on the exhalation, allow the abdomen to rest back towards the spine. So the legs have an even experience to start. It's likely they feel similar. So let's start with that balance and that concept that perhaps we can find balance on the right and left side. Slide the feet to the edge of the chair and move the knees out and the feet together. So depending on the gravitational kind of pull on the legs, clearly the feet are close. Now, I've seen this taught several ways, especially when the bolster's in easy access to your feet. I've seen it taught where you lower one foot down to the bolster, one foot stays on the chair. That could be pretty nice. It's an interesting hip challenge, but if that hurts your knee, it's not nice. It just depends on your knee. So if you want to try that, we'll give ourselves a few more moments with the option of simple feet together, knees apart. And if you prefer to just try putting one foot down on the bolster and both knees still moving outwards, noticing how this kind of stimulates the hip, right? The groin sensation, right? That's an important area to circulate for the lymph drainage. Okay, so get a feel when the knees have that motion out, whether the feet are together or the one foot is on the bolster, one foot is up. It's okay to let this be kind of a sample experience. Not sure if you have one definition of the pose right now. You could shift it a bit for just another few moments. Okay, and then let the knees both, well, the feet both on the chair and the knees point up. Shoulders back, chest is open. Yeah, feel if the knees have a little bit of separation, like they're kind of just flowing at their own response to the muscle pressure. Just kind of feel the priority here is the circulation in the chest right now. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll slide the sand away. Please do. And you know, if this block and ball set is a little close, you might have to shift it. I don't know how everybody's set up with their ball, but I want you to let your body, you're pushing to the seat with your feet, and you're going to push back. So now you feel the blanket probably near your shoulders. You're going to lift up your hips just a little bit, reach down for the bolster, and then turn it. So as you slide the bolster under your pelvis, I tend to scoot a little closer to the chair again. I want to find that there is distance between the chair, feet, and the bolster. You will be deciding how far away you want to be depending on how the knees feel, how the angle is on the knees. Take a ball and actually first thing, just let the legs kick up, circle the feet. Now that the legs have gone from weightless to some experience of circulation, maybe circulation is between rotation and elation, circulation. Go both directions. Take a little bit of spacing with the leg part so you get a feeling of the pelvis, the width, the back of the pelvis. Okay, now bring the legs back straight up and then place a ball between the knees, and let's get a feeling here where you just push with the legs kind of straight. They don't have to be perfectly straight. They're probably bendy a little bit, but when you push into the ball, I want you to get a feeling when you push in, you're going to bend the legs. You got to hinge at the hips here. You got a pattern of hinging at the knees. Make sure that ball is kind of nestled between, and then stretch the arms out. Make sure you got space besides you, and clear out the space where your blocks are so you know that you can move over there without any distraction. Okay, arms are open so the elbows are bendy to help the ribs expand. Bendy elbows. And knees going side to side. Not a care in the world about this, the pace of it. The intensity is really up to you, how far you go over. But feeling that sometimes being casual with the momentum of the pelvis can be quite nourishing right to the tissues. So you want to feel the positive force of the ball between the knees to keep that spacer. Feel the shoulders back. And those kind of two focus points, shoulders back, bolster is lifting your hips. And when the knees kind of swing side to side, I wonder if it's like if it's the hip that gets the swing or if it's the knees that create that. So of course it probably starts from the center that swings out of the centerpiece. But when you do motion, we're going to come back in towards the middle and touching the chair. Remove the ball and move the right thigh in. Now be sure your bolster is really feeling supportive under your pelvi. Okay, right knee in and reach for the right foot with your left hand. Okay, now this is impossible. Not going to happen. You have a belt that you can wrap under that right foot and hold onto the belt as well. Okay. I can get my belt and show. right? Simple. That way you don't have to reach as far if your foot's farther up. Now, if you can bring that right leg towards the chest, I want you just to get a feeling of moving it side to side, not holding in stillness, but a little bit of movement. So if you hold your right foot with your left hand, you're gonna let that knee move side to side. And the right hand probably doesn't have much purpose at this point because you don't want to hold back on the circulation. There's a little tiltiness, I'm sure, in the hips, kind of going side to side on both. But get a feeling here when you move the right knee outwards, center the spine, and then place the right foot to the left knee. You've done this many times, but when you flex the right foot, okay, we're gonna create a little bit of movement pattern. So be sure you're close onto the bolster. Okay, right leg comes in towards your right shoulder by lifting the left foot off of the chair. Scoop up either below at the back of the left thigh or below the knee. Okay, below the knee is, I think, a little deeper stretch, but not for everybody's knee. Okay. You could kick the leg up, but I want us to try to keep a little bit of bend right now. Okay. So that's that intensity in the bones right now. So there's resistance in the bones. Thus bone therapy. Okay. So give a feeling of releasing the left foot to the chair. And now this will be dynamic, meaning you're probably going to have to do some somatic exploration. So left foot on chair, right leg crosses over left leg. Knees are going to float to the left. Now, some of us will find, why do I need the chair? I don't want to use it. That's okay. You don't have to. You could have your legs go over to the floor on the left side. I'm kind of curious about the chair because I like having a stopper with my left foot. So my left foot is turned out, my right leg hooks over the left, and then I just let that leg swing over and hold it. And then noticing this leg that we just had this way, we're crossing it over. So the circulation is really interesting in the pelvic floor here. So get a feeling if you can relax in that zone, not try to grip up. Release the arms. Just give about 5 more breaths here, but have the position of the right leg hooked over the left leg. There might not be a lot of resistance. There might be shakiness for some people on this. So you might really need to be supported on the chair. Okay. Give it a few shoulders back moments, chest centered. Very simple. Okay, now bring the knees back into the chest. Okay, uncross the right leg. Hold the left foot with the right hand, and that left knee is motioning towards your left shoulder. So I encourage you to do when you hold on to that left foot is to let the leg go side to side. Just get some movement here. Some conversation in the leg parts. Of course, the right leg could be the foot on the edge of the chair. The leg could rest on the chair. Those are both fine. And you might find that the lower leg might do better support for your circulation when it's resting versus contracting a bit by just touching the chair with the foot, right? That's a little bit of contraction. Okay, now bring the left foot to the right knee, but slide the right foot to the edge of the chair and feel that left knee open first. And then bring the right knee in towards the chest and hold the back of that right thigh. And when you're holding, you are trying to squeeze and flex the left foot. It's easy for this foot to kind of sickle. So I have to kind of almost maintain that health in the bottom of my leg part connected to my foot, that the foot is flexing. Flex to protect. So as I move the leg in, I'm using my biceps a bit. So maintain that hold. Notice if the hold holds the sensation or if it changes. It may just stay the same. Okay, and this is where you get some transition. So lower the right foot to the chair, the right leg. Left leg crosses over, right, just swing it over, and the knees go to the right. So what I like to do is let the right foot relax so that the foot's turning out now, the leg kind of moves with my pose. And I really am liking this chair for this pose pattern. We might repeat this at the end of class today where we do the floor-based one, but right now it's more chair-based. So you don't have to, palpate the leg right now, but you might notice just the mere awareness of letting the left leg relax on that right crossover, the right leg crossover. Just let the body weight go into the stretch. Let's see if you can just let it be and maintain that awareness in the hip. Right, if you want to swing the knees over to the right, sometimes having a block would be nice, huh? But you could try it and just kind of feel if that's a little more intensity that you like. But sometimes using the chair to hold the pose is really nice. Balance the movement of breath. If you can keep the pelvic floor relaxed, so you're not trying to grip or tighten, there's probably enough intensity in this left hip for the whole body, so nothing else has to grip. Okay, now feeling the shoulders back, okay, knees come back into center, uncross, and now we're going to move our bolster. So I want you to have your blocks, they're both there, space on one side of your mat that you're not going to knock things over. Push down into your feet on the chair seat, lift the hips up, and then you'll just push the bolster over to the side and get a ball. All right, it's tempting to just toss it and see if my knees can actually catch it, but I've never tried that. So lower the spine down and then place the ball between the knees. Yeah, the block can be on the side. You will use the block soon, then. Don't toss your blocks. Okay, try this bridge pattern with the blanket still flat, but maybe slide it in so you have a little bit more support from sliding away. And then as you push into the seat of the chair, you lift up the hips. And as your hips lift up, stretch your arms back overhead. Good. Inhale. Exhale, lower the spine down. Push into your feet. Inhale, lift the hips up. If the circulation is grabbing the upper back, you might need to slide the blanket farther back. So just take caution here. If you kind of like that, you're at the end of the shape, that's kind of nice too. As I lift up, continue on. As the arms go overhead, sometimes feeling the blanket is nice, and that's the kind of the end of that range. I can see a positive on both. Okay, I'm gonna try not as much blanket under my head and see how that goes. I like that better. Okay, now when you lower down the spine, bring the knees into your chest, but keep the ball there. Okay, squeeze into the ball. This is on you, right, if you're doing it, but you're squeezing in. Then you're gonna relax the pressure on the ball, lower the feet to the chair. Inhale, lift the hips up, arms overhead. Don't do any extra squeezing of the ball there. And then lower the spine down, knees to chest, squeeze, relax the squeeze, feet down. Okay, now the breath is getting confusing, I think. Inhale, lifting the hips. Exhale, lower the spine. Inhale, knees to chest, squeeze. Exhale, lower the feet to the chair. I think that works out good. Let's just do one more because now I figured it out. Inhale, lift it up and over. And exhale. Now it's okay if your glutes are squeezing. That's natural. It's pretty protective for your back. And then come back in with the knees, squeeze. Okay, and now as you relax that squeeze and actually remove the ball, and let's let the feet touch the chair and lift up the hips and take a couple blocks. You're gonna want 2. And I like to stack them on top so they're the low setting, but stack them under the pelvis. That's my preference for the stretch. But some of you might find, oh, that's just too much, right? So you might need to have the blocks so they're at the second setting, right, next to each other. I've seen people do it this way. Actually, they're perfectly balanced. I just can't hold it that way right now. Or they're next to each other. This points up into the lumbar different, right? It's a little different. I can see both of those working pretty good. Yeah, this feels really good too. So you have a nice platform, but if you have just the stack of blocks on top of each other, that's good too. So you want to lift up the legs. We did this earlier, but we're going to be doing many inversions. So when you have that lift, I want you to press down into the blocks. So if you're using them stacked up, right, you're still going to be working with that awareness. Now the skin on the back, having flexible skin is a good thing for this one. So one of the things with aging, right, it's going to be movable. So you might like that, how you adapt to the positioning on the blocks, kind of getting more lift. But the skin on the other side, especially this rib area, we want that to move with the breath. So this is a little more of a shoulder stand, right? Because now we're up higher onto the shoulders. So you probably can like peek towards your ribs in your peripheral vision and see them. And notice if they're moving with the breath. No sand. And let the ribs move. See if the sense of lifting, right? It's actually the diaphragm that's moving down towards the core and creating that movement. Okay, now take the bridge pose. So bend the knees and then the feet on the chair, shoulders back and in. Now take the last few moments here where your work is on, oh, my spine into my neck is one line. Okay, you're reaching. Even though it feels funny to think of reaching your crown of your head back, because the musculature, you don't want to tighten your neck. So you just let it be. And then roll the shoulders down and in towards the spine. So now you have a real puffy chest. Okay, shoulders are back as much as they can. Okay. All right, now let's just get a feeling of the position of the feet on the chair. Now it doesn't work for my ankles to bring my feet to the seat and put my foot all the way down. Can't do that. So I'm on the edge of the chair with my feet. There's probably someone who can. Okay, some very hypermobile ankle. Okay, without nodding your head side to side, it's not good for the neck to do that with this pressure on the shoulder. So let's try to keep it adaptable. I want you to feel where the back of the pelvis centers on the block. And you're going to push into your feet and then gently move the tailbone towards the legs. Lift up the hips. It's really interesting, subtle work. Especially when you try to move your tailbone when you're on your back. Different tail connection. Lift the hips up so you're off the blocks, your glutes are working. You're going to slide the blocks aside and you're going to get that ball and place it under the glute. Any glute will do, but it's glute medius. So it's center and upper center of the glute, lower down so you're on the ball and you're going to massage into that glute a little bit. So you're going to go side to side like you're swinging your hips Lucky you that you have a chair under your feet, so you got some more weight into that circulation into the ball. Yeah, it's probably going to sound funny. It depends on the flooring you have, because if it's carpet, it's not as noisy. Not quite. Okay, so place the ball to the other side. It's going to make the same sound. Either do it, doesn't matter. Okay, now get a feeling where your body weight is and how you can really touch into the circulation in your hip. Maybe laterally, you can make the movements not so wide with the hip. Okay, but next time you come back in towards pressing into the ball, if you're pushing down into it, use the body weight to center, and then gently push into your feet to slide the ball out. Keep it nearby. We're going to use it real soon. And I want you to hold the knees. Well, actually, the back of the knees is fine too. You don't have to grip your knees. But hold them in towards the chest, like you're massaging the digestive tract a bit. So I squeeze the legs in. It's actually more legs than knees, isn't it? Because if I didn't have this leg part, it's not going to do much good if I just, well, you have to have that part to have a knee, huh? But squeeze in. Okay. Just visualize you can do boat pose, even if you don't know exactly where you're going. And let the feet kick back, and then you got a chair in front of you, the base of you. So get ready, you're gonna roll up and try to put the legs up on it. Okay, so you might lean back, use your hands to adapt to the moment, but hold the back of the legs. And when you hold the back of them, you're gonna move out with the hands. So when I lift up my legs off the chair, or if I could leave them on the chair, which is fine, I'm going to move the thigh flesh and pull outwards, but of course your legs are so reactive, they're not going to just roll out. So use that resistance, and I want you to let the hands really grip the back of the legs, lift up the chest, and see if you can move your legs off of the chair. Bring them close together so the feet are touching. Okay, work on that core band of experience. Stretch your hands towards the chair. And it doesn't take more than about 3 seconds to start to feel that cumulative effect of just the circulation in the legs. Hands at the back of the legs, like you're pulling them out like that, outwards, but they're resisting. And lower them to the chair. Hands on the floor behind you. Move the chest open. That's it. And just feel the circulation in the shoulders. Although I know you feel it in the hip flexors. Okay. Now scoop in the knees and the feet off the chair, lower them down besides the feet of the chair. Reach back for your blankie and slide it in. And let's go ahead and kind of scoot the blanket all the way under your hips. That's going to take you a moment. So the blanket's still in the single fold. That worked out. Okay. So first things first, let's just kind of see how alignment goes. We'll need a sandbag over on the left side. You'll probably need a ball. Okay, these are your 2 items, and yourself on the blanket. Okay, so we'll go alignment zone here. So I've got my legs under, they're not touching the wall, but yours might. Okay, they just don't happen to be touching. Okay, so I want you to get a feeling of hands on the seat of the chair, and how do you get height in your back? Like, do you have to push into the chair to sit up, or do you push into your sitting bones? I'm doing more hand push than sitting bones, to be honest. It feels like that's how I try to sit up. So what I want you to work with here is to bring that left hand back behind your left hip. You're going to slide the left foot in next to the right inner knee. And you're going to actually use the hands, heels of the hands, it's easier on the wrist. You're going to turn so that left side of the waist twists to the left and the right foot touches the wall, okay? Now if the blanket's just a little too much under your ankle, you can shift it, or maybe you want it under your ankle. Yeah, this should be comfortable. Okay, so the ball is under the left knee, and the sand goes on the upper inner left thigh. It's a good one. It seems kind of simple, but you know what's interesting about going from the basic forward motion to turning is how the legs might be tight, and so it's hard to get. We're trying to find the circulation in the centerpiece of the body, not just the leg. So lift up the arms or just the chest. If you can't lift your arms and it hurts to do this, you can lift up the chest and have your hands on the leg. But I want you to get a reach with the arms, okay? And then feel if you can turn to the left. Okay, like your spine is on it's just a rod that you're turning side to side. Okay, now feel when you turn left, your right leg is pushing the wall, so it's going to be reactive that way. And you'll lean your right elbow on the chair. And I just let the left arm reach and let my head rest into my right hand. But some of us might find this is just a little too tightened up on the top of the body. So our left arm will go behind us, or we'll let the right arm rest on the chair. You could do either, but I encourage you to just get a feel of that reach of the left arm. And the left leg rests into the ball. That's key. And the right hip, front of the hip, you want that to rest down right into the femur, so that right leg pushes into the wall. Sitting bone centers. Sitting bone center. Mostly the right one. And settle in. If the left arm is feeling like it's just getting tired, you can let the arm relax behind your back. That feels nice. It's kind of steep and marinate in the pose here. Feel the belly move with the breath. Okay, now feel how the foot touches the wall. So who knows, maybe it's turning in, maybe it's turning out, or you think it's straight. So feel the ball of the foot push into the wall as much as the heel. Okay, now when you feel the undercurrent of that right leg rest, you could kind of let it shake a little bit so you can feel it press. And then I want you to just let your body turn to the left hand is down, right hand to that left knee, but manage this twist using the right foot pushing. You have to find the accurate amount of intensity for your body to feel some range of content, but it's self-care right now. So you don't have to overdo it, but you want to create a circulation event here. So push into that right foot, feel how the belly is revolving. Okay, so when I feel the body turn, I want you to try to maintain so the spine is lifting, so the chest goes up. We all can work on that. Even if I get centered in it, and talking tends to bring my spine a little bit down. It tends to make me come around a bit. So breathing in, lifting up. Okay. So let go of the knee with that right hand, turn back to the chair. And let's do this without the sand. Let's just put the sand over on the right side. And you might actually still need the ball, huh? So right leg is going to take a simple crossing in front of the left. You can kind of get a feel for the sitting bones. The ball may be under that left knee, maybe not. But square the hips as much as you think. You can imagine this one. So you want to center the hips, lift up the chest, and maybe hands are on the chair. This is up to you. You might want to be here. This feels better in my spine. It just feels like it's a nice resistance between sides. And this is okay. It might be an improvement for some of us, feeling wise, but once you tune into your back material. Okay, now change sides. So we'll take the left leg forward, straight to the wall. You might check it in the beginning and see if when it does get to the wall, if it's naturally straight up, and feel what that's like. When it looks straight up, That's what you're going to aim for throughout it. So left leg straight, right leg bends. Pivot to the right. Take your sand and your ball. Sand on the top of that right inner thigh. Ball is under the knee. And you're going to get first a feeling of turning to that right leg, the bent right leg. Good. And then reach the left arm up onto the chair seat. Okay. Now, get a feeling now when you have that turn. Last time we kind of swung the arms upward. That was a little different. But feel if the right side has length. The left side, it tends to, circulation and binding happens here on the spleen side of the body. Right. So get a feeling of leaning in. Left arm can reach to the wall. It can rest the head into the left hand. The right arm can be back or up. Now, if you do lift the arm and you feel, once you get a little more internal wisdom, you might even feel the side of the spine that you're leaning into kind of binds up. I want you to really work on how the arms are reaching out of the waist to give you some space in the back. I know it's nice to have arms. It's nice to have those upper extremities. Breathing. And I get the feel where your foot pushes, and then stretch the right arm to the back of your space, away from the wall. Okay, lift up the spine. Think of you lift the spine through the strength of your core. Right hand on the floor, turning left hand to the right knee. So you automatically create that rotation. Yeah, just be careful that you're not leaning into the arm like this. I don't want you to lean into the arm like this at all. Sometimes this feels good, I think. So maybe that's why people do that. But it's we're trying to create that circulation around the axis of the spine. So if it feels like it's difficult, deep breath. Move the waist, move the ribs. I know it can always improve, right? You can always move the chest more open. There's always room for improvement. But we're doing well. So get the feeling now of releasing the grip on the right knee and turn. Let's take the sand away and bring the left foot forward, cross it in front of the right shin. You can have your ball under the right knee or the left knee. It just depends on what knee needs support. Lean into it or stay up. Right. This could be the one that you're going to stay with. We're going to be turning and coming into hands and knees next. So you decide like, okay, I'm about ready to shift my whole concentration in my bones. So what would give me a sense of certainty, right? Some of us certainty might be hands on the chair. That gives me some certainty. I just don't want to slouch, increase the slouch. So that's where I'm focusing, is how to create that lift. This might do it, right? Hands on chair. Okay, so it's so good to have lower extremities too. So when we take away the pose, the ball goes away. Let's have, let's turn. So you're gonna uncross the legs. If you need to shake it out or jump up and down, this is a good time for that. Get a sip of something. Okay, but take a blanket, fold it in a quarter fold, turn, the fringes are there. You know, there's something about the fringes. You're supposed to have them to the back, huh? Okay, now you're going to push the blanket so it's under your knees. Be careful of your wrists. You know, sometimes we get these funny dynamics moving our hands, but you probably want the hands flat. Okay, so we have the hands forward. So I'm not going to go backwards. I'm going to get my blocks nearby to use them. Yours can be on both sides. I just don't want to block the view there. So have the feet so they touch to the chair. So that's going to demand you to move the knees a little bit wide. So you might feel that's kind of funny. Okay, so get a feeling of that width. Don't make it any wider than it needs to be. Just find that just the right amount that you feel the chair. Now keep that resistance so you're balancing the leg parts. And you're going to round the back. Feet can be hooked, toes under. Inhale, arch the spine. Hips lift behind you. Now that's kind of interesting. So around the back, your hips are moving. Inhale, hips lift. They're limited in the lift unless you can levitate. Okay, now rounding the back, chin to chest. And then as you gently arch, hands walk forward. Now this could mean my hands turn out, the hands turn out. That might be easier on your wrists. So you're gonna lean forward. This is the good thing about this chair, is I have this resistance with the chair. It's one of the best things about chairs for this pose. So you're gonna lengthen. Okay, now I want you to try this also with a bolster. So let's come back onto table. Grab onto the bolster, slide it forward. Okay. Now it doesn't have to be under your thighs, but it's okay if it is. I want you to still lean forward into the bolster. You know, another way of using the bolster is to have it across, horizontal. This can be kind of nice too. And then I think that's my preference. Okay. All right, so bolster any direction, but underneath your core. And now feel if that's different on your wrists. On the challenge, I think it's a little easier. So let's use a bolster, whether it's across or lengthwise, as I mentioned. And I want you to feel that you push into the chair legs, right, so out into them, so there's resistance. Now, can you lower down onto your elbows? Sure, because it's easier, I would too. Okay, and feel that resistance with the legs. And so I want you to emphasize at this connector, up at that area that we were stretching, our hip area, that's going to grip up a bit right now. So push out into the chair, the leg parts, and then relax your glutes. Oh, that's nice. And let the back of the pelvis rest. Still, it stays open. Now with the elbows down, Sphinx position, my elbows are down, hands are forward to the elbows, of course. I want you to make a fist with the hands. Okay, so the pinky side is clearly going to the pinky doesn't really press, does it? I don't really feel my pinky press. It's my side of my wrist that's pressing. Kind of your karate chop side. Okay, so press. Now your thumbs could be up, your thumbs could rest. Probably they need some rest anyway. So press down, lift up, and notice if you have to grip your glutes to get the chest to lift. Okay, it's okay if you do. Okay. So feel the difference sometimes in the circulation. Now let the palms be down. Slide the hands back. Chin to chest. Push into your hands. Inhale. Gently lift. Let's just keep it simple here. Exhale, lower down. Elbows by my sides. Okay, inhale, lift. Now if your glutes are gripping up, okay. But if they don't, that's okay too. I want you to just feel the isolation of the arms. My favorite, the reason I like the bolster across is it's also a nice little massage into the organs here. Okay, now last time, inhale, lift up. If you're not breathing with this, do one more of them. So you're getting that circulation. Inhale, lift. Just be careful, right, of the areas you grip up. And then toes under. Okay, slide the weight back into your hands and knees. Now shift your knees close together. Push the bolster off to the side. It's more of an ordeal than you need it to be sometimes. And then take a hold of some blocks. And I want you to get a feel now of stepping the right foot between the blocks and lean into that lunge. Take lots of care that the knee is not over the toes, but your right knee is above the ankle, maybe a little forward. That's okay. But gently stretch into that left front thigh. Hands on the blocks, you could bring them up. You can push them forwards. kind of set them down so that your circulation is now lifting up your face towards the ceiling. It's only going to be helpful for your spine, right? So this rounding position, no, we're not going to try this one. We're going to try moving the heart forward and gently lifting up the chest. Okay, try to keep that lift. Make sure your left hand is on the block and it's stable. It's not rocking side to side. Right hand reaches back. Turn the chest to the right. Now you don't have to hold your chair. This is not the goal, but you are going towards it. So turn so that right arm reaches back. So let that left knee, I know this is getting energetic, but let the left knee be down. If it hurts your knee, you need to have the knee up. Sometimes that's better for some people. That's okay. Okay, right hand lowers down. If your knee is down, you've got to get some energy to get the knee back up and step the left foot besides the right. Okay, let the blocks shift aside so you're not going to knock them out. Feet about hips distance. Ribs forward and down, head down, and let the arms dangle. Okay, get a feeling of the arms resting out of the shoulders. Deepen the breath. Feel the ribs expand on the inhale. And center on the exhale. And finally, make sure that your brain is relaxing, right? You're not holding your neck right now. Let the weight of your head stretch your spine. You're usually holding it up on top of your spine, so give yourself a few more moments here. Weight of the head stretches not just the spine, but the whole back line of the body, right? Now, making that nice imprint with your feet on your mat, right? You're making imprints. So when you feel the posture of your pose, right? Just kind of feel the posture of the feet, the energy of the outline. And then I want you to bend through the legs. Now, reach the hands up back to the hips. Be very careful of the knees. I don't want you to make more pressure, although pressure builds when they bend. So you're going to come up to standing and just simply move the heart forward as much as you could, and then gently stand up and feel the shape of the feet down into the floor. Feel the shoulders back. You can hardly see that on me, I'm sure, but your shoulders could do that. And then notice if your feet, if the position of them can sometimes make the hips feel like they're tightening. So I want you to take a wider step with your feet on your mat. Take a wide stance, feet are parallel. And then you're going to lift the hips, lift the chest, but move the hips forward. Hands are on the hips. Okay, and then when you bend your knees, you're going to lean forward. This probably feels easier on your knees than when they're closer. And then hold the sides of the legs. Now, I would just keep the feet in this stance. And of course, you think you can go wider, but just let it be a natural width of the pelvis. Okay, now reach for the blocks, take them in. And then I want you to bring that left foot into center and step the right foot back and stay with a pretty good lunge, right? So if you like to have the back knee off the blanket, well, you're already there on this side. You didn't have to lower or to lift up, you're there. If you prefer the knee on the blanket, then that's what you do. But if there's any pressure that hurts your knee, you should probably get the knee off the blanket. I can't see a world where that's going to be helpful for the knee if it's letting you know it hurts. Okay, so reach back through that right heel and feel where the waist is moving forward. With my knee down, I find that this is okay. This works fine for me. My hands on the blocks high. Okay. Now you're going to reach the left arm open, turn the waist to the left side and move the chest to the back of the space towards the wall. Okay, so get that feel of motion. Okay, for me, I feel like I get the motion into the position and then I'm stuck. It's not like I'm gonna feel my arm goes further, but feel the movement of the ribs with the breath, whether your leg is up. It's only a few more moments, I promise. Make sure your back foot is not in the same track as your front foot. That's easy to do. Okay, now let's lower the left hand. If your back knee is down, you're gonna lift it up. And we're gonna walk to the chair. So we're gonna take a walk to the right. You don't really need your blocks, but it's kind of nice to have helpers. Turn to the chair and have your hands on top of it. Okay. Now the blanket can go bye-bye, I think. Can't see where we'll need it. Okay. So have your hands on the chair seat and straighten out that right and left leg. So work on this one. Spend some time managing the back leg management. So my right leg is, if the foot is obviously pushing, but what I feel most of the pressure in is actually my back leg, like in the calf. So if you don't feel your calf stretch, if you're just like, I just don't feel it, you probably can bring that right knee to more bending. That might help you sense more calf, the front leg bending a bit more. You can lower your elbows down. I'm sure that's going to help. But get the feeling of that circulation for that left leg behind the knee. It shouldn't be like knee difficulty, but it's the circulation at the right below the back of that left knee to the calf. Okay. Soleus, gastroc, so quite a bit into the bulk of that lower left leg. Not to say you won't feel the right leg too, but so a little bit of bend of the right knee could be helpful. And marinate it for a few more moments. And now feel when you walk the hands back if your elbows are on the chair. Come back, that does intensify it when your elbows are down. Okay, now maintain so that right leg is bending. And let's just slide the right foot back so it's still pressing into the ground. It's right underneath your knee. And you're going to lift up the back heel and lift up the leg into a balancing pose. So a left leg up, right heel down, required to balance. Okay, so instead of focusing on how it looks or how high your leg gets, emphasize the feeling in that right hip. Okay, so as you feel that left leg lower down, bend the right knee. Hands are going to hold the sides of the seat of the chair. And then bring the right foot back besides the other one and let the hips move forward into up dog. Inhale, move the chest up. There's always room for improvement. I know, always. And then come back through plank. So a push-up position. We don't have to do any push-ups, so we won't require it here. And then take a downward dog. So the feet take a wide step on the edge of the mat and then press the chair and the hips stretch back to stretch open your chest. Yeah, this one is done really slow. I would say it's done best when you go slow. The hands, I like to refine the position of my hands on the seat of the chair. Maybe feeling more in your chest or maybe the shoulder. Really let the legs extend. And you have to make sure the chair doesn't tip off of the wall. That does happen sometimes. Okay, now the elbows could move a little bit out, not required, it might be too much, but kind of open out with those elbows, bend the knees, feel the awareness of the joints, the knees, the elbows. Okay, step the right foot in and the left foot forward under the chair seat, reach that right leg back, go into that second side into the calf. Let's keep it simple. Okay, so my right heel reaches down. Yeah, it might feel really different on your second side. You might be disappointed that it's not as intense, or who knows. So with the work in the body, right, for that side that's different, is to just notice, am I doing everything the same? My hips in the same alignment? I know you've got to specialize in you. You're a you specialist for you. Okay, now if my hands are onto the seat, it's a little less stretch, right? So if I lower my elbows down, but you might really get a feeling of movement of the hips, movement of the pelvis stretching back, the sitting bones. Elbows down might not be at all possible too. Okay, now the belly is an interesting thing on this one. Sometimes we just kind of let that relax a lot. So breathe, have the ribs moving so there's this circulation in the abdomen. Okay, now slide hands on the seat of the chair. Slide the left foot back so you can see it underneath. There's the foot that you got. And lift the right leg up. Now, if you lift up and you feel really cattywampus, like you can't quite get the pillar of the leg to hold the muscles in place, or they're just shaking, would slide the foot farther back, right? That's fine. But you know what happens sometimes is if you slide the bottom foot back, is that your hips are they swing out. So you're trying to get that levelizing of the hips still. So if you look back at your upper leg parts, even though the right foot faces down, the leg is off the ground, you still want your hips to be kind of level enough that you could put a block on the back of your pelvis, right? Let's hope I can do this. And you can balance that easily. I mean, the block might tilt a little bit, but it should be a pretty good. Yeah, now a wood block might be a little uncomfortable, but a foam block. So the block is a nice kind of resource here for this pose to balance the pelvis. You don't have to use the block. No requirement there, okay? Now to give it a few more breaths here, feeling the leg lifting. Yeah, the block will also, you'll notice the natural arch of the spine. Now, as you reach that right thigh back, I want you to bend the left knee. Now, when you step the right foot straight down behind you, left foot back, move the hips forward and lift the chest. Push into the seat of the chair. Okay, now feeling that natural lift, breathing. Okay, come back through. Feet together, stretching the chest out. So my feet press down to the heels. Okay, now I want you to take a moment where you come forward, walk to the chair, and then carefully, don't bop your head on the wall. Turn around, sit in it for a few moments. Take the feet into a wide stance. Okay, I'll face you. This will be a hard one to figure out with me at the wall. Take your feet into a wide stance and let the knees move out. So the knees have an openness. You don't want to hit the wall. Of course, you're not facing this way, huh? You're away from the wall. And I want you to let the waist swirl around. So you're going to have your hands on the knees, shift your weight from one sitting bone to the next sitting bone, to the next sitting bone. There's only a couple of them. And then go the other direction. Yeah, so kind of feel that you can sit on the chair, maybe even close your eyes and just move the weight from one leg to the next leg. And, you know, sitting in a chair can be really interesting for our awareness of our legs and our pelvis. It's not that bad. Okay. Now lean into your left elbow and bring the right hand to the back of the chair or the wall, if you've got your wall there, and let the waist turn. The feeling of rotation. Keep this for a few moments. So the weight for me is on where my elbow is, that side is weighted into that sitting bone. So you might notice that just parts of your ribs move with your breath. Try to get expansive in the breathing into the lower waist, into the upper chest. Okay, now come back in the center. Roll your shoulders back and down. Really lift them and roll them. Feel the squeeze of the shoulders back. And there's always further to go. So just accepting how you can move your arms to help your shoulders. Okay. Tilt the right elbow down to the other thigh and left hand back. Well, the right arm goes to its thigh. Left hand back to the chair and twist. So there's circulation down into that right side of the waist, the liver. Feel the rotation. Make the weight into your seat. It's probably more right side, I'm assuming. But you still can work on spreading the circulation down to the left hip too, the left sitting bone. If your head is getting a little tense here, come up and then bring your legs a little closer in and tilt the left ear to the left shoulder. Just take a moment, stretching gently through the neck. Come back up center, right ear to right shoulder. I know I'm not mirroring you, so you're gonna probably see opposite here. Come back in center. Okay, so let's take the chair off to the side. So I want you to just move it. Actually, move it to the back of your mat. Okay, let's change that up. Okay, use the chair to help you get down. And let's take a couple blankets right at the feet of the chair. So this is away from the wall. The chair is away from the wall. 2 blankets. Shift back to sitting. And then, you're not going to need those. Okay. And then what you'll need is a bolster right next to the blankets, a ball, a sandbag, and side sage. So you need side sage. That's what you need now. All right, so lean into that left side. I want you to tilt your left waist down into the bolster. Take your time so you're comfy. You're not too close to the wall, but you could probably be somewhat close. You're not gonna be in danger, I don't think. Okay, now, sand on the side, arm is just between, you gotta get yourself some room between the bolster and blankets. You don't want it to crowd your shoulder. Your shoulder should find a lot of ease to be between these two, lots of it. So I always find this interesting because I feel my left arm supported by this bolster in my chest area, and the right arm goes over. You might have to fuss a bit with your sandbag, because if it feels like it's nearly falling, right, you might bring it up. And then as you lengthen that right arm, you decide, maybe you don't want your hand on the chair and you'd rather have it, I don't know, maybe under the chair. This is kind of interesting. I just don't want to cramp up my shoulder. So I find this lift is great for the arm tissues. That's one way to look at it, arm tissue. Connective tissues. So center on that left hip. Relax your breath. Feel the weight of your hips, both of them. Just be centered. You could say left of center, huh? And now lower the right arm down, slide the sand to the side. Probably the right side would be best, or it falls off. And you can feel some movement of the chest, the shoulders, both shoulders. Even though the left one is down, it might, squeeze up towards the neck. So you want to let that left arm really be heavy. Interesting. So when you turn back towards that bolster and let yourself up, push to get to lift, and let's take a seated forward bend. So you're facing away from your chair, you're sitting on your bolster, your legs are in a crisscross, right leg forward and left. I want you to lean forward. The wall is actually really good on this one, so I'm going to scoot myself towards it. Be a better experience for me. Sand on the right thigh. If you need the ball, we did this earlier with the chair, right? So this should feel somewhat recognizable. And then you'll lean into it. So if I have a wall, I can press, stretch my back, my shoulders. Now, if this is, so-so, but you want a little more, you can move your hands over to the left side to lean down into the stretch for your hip. But let this be a little bit more kind of suctioned into the bone. So we're working, instead of a reclining hip opener, we're doing this one. So I would work it so that you're leaning down. If your arms are to the left, your hands are at the wall, I would just stay lifted and let your waist move downwards. It's kind of up to you though. You could be down with the hands down. Yeah, this is a little more hip dense, I think, when my hands are low or to the left. I just like the alignment of this one. Lining up with alignment. Okay, now feeling if your hands are at the wall, the wonderful part of that is you can actually do a little bit of cat-cow. You can move the chest down. You can gently arch through the spine, but really subtle. Dense work. Okay, now hands come back to the legs. And then we come away from this pose. We'll take the sand away to the right and then the ball away. And then let the legs go forward. If you're too close to the wall, this could be tough, but you want to shake it out or do some tapping onto the legs. Get a little bit of blood flow into them, not that you don't have it already from class. And then slide down off the bolster, push it towards the chair, and then go to side sage on the other hip. So right hip is down, left hip is up, sand goes onto that left hip or side. And gotta be careful not to hit the chair here, it looks like. Okay, I want to get my bolster so it's tucked in under my ribs. And then my head is on the blanket and arm. And you can be really close to these props, right? You can have them, very inches away from each other, right? That close. But feel how kind of friendly it is to just put the hand onto that chair. Let your head rest into the blankets. Maybe close your eyes. And let the waist move with the breath. There's always some more to explore. So if you get a little curious in the pose, you're kind of not sure how to tilt your hip, move around a little bit. Feel how you can change the experience that's a little more soothing for you. You really sense the balance of that right hip. Be careful that you're not pulling on your knee, right? So if you do feel like that knee's getting just a little strained, you can always bring the left knee closer to the right knee. You can change where the ball is, sometimes by using your right foot. It's kind of fun to figure that out. Sometimes it's the sandbag on top that's causing that strained, so you've got to move it around. Very few of us will say we got strained in our ribs in class, right? Even though we do a lot of elasticity with breathing, it's not like the joints, right? It's not going to have that much, not as fragile or vulnerable to the pressure. And I'll let the body weight drop into the ground for a little bit longer. We're in the final spiral of poses. The final alinal. Okay, now you could be on the back of your head, you could be on the side. It's kind of where it's comfortable for you on some of these. So when you come around towards taking that sand away, and maybe you don't roll that deeply to your bolster, but you do come up, and then you take the final seated pose. Before we get upside down, you're going to move your left leg forward to the right. You don't have to be close to the wall. It might be interesting for you. It's up to you. You're sitting simple cross-legged. Make sure that the underside, the flesh, from the buttock to the back of the leg is flowing outwards, not pulling in. It's going to go both directions realistically. And then I like to let the legs kind of bring it into more of a loose, like shoelace, so it's a looser position. And then I lean forward. And I'm just kind of curious. I can move my waist side to side. You know, I can reach to the wall. I like definition. I have something to find the edge of the position for. Okay, and the back, your head centers between. Ribs move with the breath. If you're fortunate to touch towards the sandbag, it's nice for the breathing muscles to kind of feel. And obviously for the touch into the organs. Okay, if your hands are to the right side and that works good for you, that's fine. You can go with that. Just be careful that you're not starting to go into this collapsing vertebrae stuff, right? Where you're like hunched down. You want to have more extension. That's hard to do. And so sometimes you have to be up at the wall to get that extension, not rounding. Okay, even if it's a more satisfying hip stretch. Okay, last few moments here. It's not over yet. It's almost. We're almost there. A few more moments and we get the best pose. We have to save it for last. All right, now when you lower the hands, they kind of come back to the legs, lift up, and it's not that far of a movement of the chest, is it? Okay, so slide the sand away, sit back on your seat off the bolster, push the bolster forward, just kind of push everything to the wall. This is kind of interesting. I don't know if you've done the legs up the wall when you actually kind of go this way and you keep going this way and then you try to get them up. I've never been able to do that very well. Some people do it really well. So you could try that. You could just kind of go up there and see if you can get your legs up. You can try that. There's different ways of getting there. There's even going into a somersault to get your legs up. That I can do, but it's pretty loud. Okay, roll to bring the legs up. So remember, you got to go to one hip to one side, sitting bones to the wall. That's you really got to get scrunched up to the wall. And then you do the best you can to swing the legs up. And once the legs are lifted, I want you to manage that lower back circulation. So make sure the bolster feels like it's helping you. If it's hurting you, then you don't use the bolster. You can still do legs up, but have a blanket like this height under your pelvis. This works good too. Some prefer that for their spine. Just a little bit of height is just, they can get more success. And you'll improve if you practice, but you got to practice. Okay, take the sand, place it under the feet. The feet are lifted. If you feel like putting a blanket on the core of the body, it's just a little bit more sensation of settling. It does require awareness. to settle in. And then let the arms simply relax down by the sides, and they're lower than the heart. If you can just let the fingers be in a natural relaxation, and manage that flow in through the nose, and make fluidity in the body from breathing. So as you breathe in, notice that circulation, stretching the breathing muscles, and feeling the movement chamber of your ribs. Just reversing the flow of gravity in the legs back towards the pelvis. And maybe let your head roll from side to side while the lower body stays inverted, reversing the flow of gravity. In the final roll of the movement of the skull, noticing how do you do that? How are you activating that movement of your head? So I like to just feel the back of my head really rest into the blanket. Feel my head gently move to one side, and then let it stop so I can feel the neck and the circulation into the throat. And then go to the other side. Don't get ahead of yourself. It's almost there. We're almost there. And if you just let the weight of your head be back, it does create quite a bit of opportunity to stretch the neck with a lot of ease. Wouldn't it be nice to have the neck comfortable? And now just let the weight of your head rest back as you come back into center. If you're already waiting, we're here. And then shift your feet away from the wall and bend the knees. Caution, there's sand on the feet, so slide it away or let it toss as long as no creatures are behind you, glasses or creatures. And then feel if the shoulders are kind of pulling up to the ears, center them back down and try to keep that as your focus when you come up to sitting, is those shoulders back there. So yes, you have to round your back to come up, but bend the knees, swing them over to a side, let your hands come down, push, and then when you come around, feel that there's a twist just to sit. There's a required twist to come to sitting. I think most of the time, unless you're just sitting in a chair, from floor to up, it's a twist. But when you move the shoulders back, feel the balance of your hands on your lap and the back of the pelvis naturally arching into the spine. It's like a pelvic, it's a bowl, it's a basin. And the spine, right, its roots going up through the spine into the upper beam of the shoulders and the chest. It's kind of amazing when you have good alignment how it can feel. Just to slow it down. Let's bring the hands up to meet, touching the palms, generating the feeling of coming together with each side, and in this session together, finishing the class, inhaling, breathing in, and exhale,